All right, y'all. What's up, man? What's going on, man? Welcome to the podcast with Soul. Please subscribe. Please share this video. Follow me on my Instagram too. The podcast with Soul is the same name as this channel. I want to thank and welcome all my new subscribers. Glad you like the content. Myself, Sean Xavier Gumby Sr., my son, Sean Xavier Gumby Jr., the Gunby Publishing, Stigmatism in My Soul, and the podcast with Soul. We are going to be talking from straight court documents. This is public information. We do not wish to slander, libel, defame, or hurt anybody. We are discussing a court case, and that is our only intent, is to do that. So my whole Luna, stop it. My whole perception of this case has changed dramatically. And I'm going to get to that soon. And you may be able to ascertain where my thinking has gone versus the last video that I did. Also, I want you to sit tight, because remember the mistake that I said I made? Remember that? I told you that? Maybe it wasn't, right? So sit tight. Most of y'all know I've spoken to Keith Cromer in person. Well, not personally, on the phone, on 2 separate occasions for over 2.5 hours. And he clarified for me, because I went back, after I made the mistake, I went back and I said, Keith, what's up with this no third-party cooperation agreements not being allowed in the Northern District of Georgia? And what he did was, he said, Sean, obviously it's a federal thing. You could do it anywhere in the country, but it was our policy. It was our policy in the Northern District of Georgia when I was there that we didn't do third-party cooperation agreements. And something may have come up in what we're going to talk about today. Okay? And I kind of understood what Keith Cromer was talking about, because he said, Sean, we really didn't focus on low-level African-American drug trade, right? That's the terms that he used, African-American. He said, I mostly focused on mid-level to high-level cartels on the border and in Latin America. That was mostly my thing. How he got wrapped up into this, you'll see. But he says, we mostly didn't do this. He says, African-American drug dealers are low-hanging fruit. That's like small potatoes. He used very politically correct terms, but really what he was saying is that niggas that deal drugs was small to him. He didn't even deal with that. They would let lower level dudes deal with that, or the local police, and then if they felt like they need to pick up something, they would do something. They would pick up a case. But today, we're going to talk about Jack Harvey and his testimony. This is dated, this is the Frank's hearing excerpt from Volume 2, October 18th, 2016. the 2 U.S. attorneys, Dean Hogue, Michael Riley, CUFFY's lawyer, Joanne Trogg, Timothy Rush's attorney, Preston Humphrey, Andre Rush's attorney, Bob Herman, and Mr. Stephen Welby, who is the attorney for Gibbs. So today, I'm only going to focus on, because this is a pretty big, and I want to go slow with this because Jack Harvey's testimony is so important, right? So, first of all, let me set the tone. Let me set the tone for Jack Harvey, right? So, CUFFY told me that Jack Harvey is the same agent to bring all the BMF indictments, right? And that it seems a hell of a coincidence that Tammy COWINS ends up with Jack Harvey. Now, I've heard that before. Somebody else called and told me, said, Sean, man, how peculiar is it that the main DE agent that brought down all of the BMF, he brought all of the BMF indictments. And y'all, if anybody can corroborate that information, if anybody is from BMF and you can go in the comment section and say, yo, I was a part of BMF, it was Jack Harvey that brought my indictment, that would just confirm. But CUFFY confirms it here. I've also heard that elsewhere. I've heard his name mentioned in other, Blue Harvey mentions his name, not Blue Harvey, Blue Da Vinci mentions his name, excuse me. His name is constantly being thrown around, Jack Harvey. This is before he retires. I think after he does everything, brings down BMF, he then retires in around 2011. So he's on the stand and he's being cross-examined by Herman. And Herman is Andre Rush's attorney, but all the defense attorneys are working together to achieve the same end, which is to, get the motion to suppress the wiretaps thrown out, right? Because of bad information, illegal or erroneous or falsified information by people that are in the affidavit, namely Tammy COWINS, and up to that point, Keith Cromer. So, right off the bat, and I want y'all to stay with me, man. I want y'all to listen to what I'm saying, right? Because Tammy COWINS, man. Tammy COWINS, man. Yo. All right, let's get into it. All right, Mr. Harvey. This is Mr. Herman. You never had a personal relationship with CS1, didn't you? CS1 is Tammy COWINS. Jack Harvey, no. Herman, you never hugged and kissed her? Jack Harvey, no. Herman, you never had sex with her, obviously. Jack Harvey, no. Herman, all right. But you found after she called you at some point upset, you were made aware that that kind of unprofessional conduct was occurring between Tammy COWINS and Keith Cromer, did you not? Jack Harvey, listen! Yes, that's what she told me. Tammy COWINS. Yes, that's what she told me. And tell the court, how did, when this first was reported to you, Jack Harvey? It was first reported to me on approximately May the 10th. No, it was exactly May the 10th, 2014. And then Herman asked, how did she tell you that the relationship began? Yes, it was way long ago. Back in, I think it began in 2011, and I think it was over with, according to her, by the beginning of 2013. So Jack Harvey, listen! Jack Harvey on the stand, a former DEA agent, is on the stand saying that Tammy Cowins, out her mouth, said she had an inappropriate sexual relationship with Keith Cromer. Tammy said, which we've already seen in prior videos that I've done, on the stand, being caught in lies, perjuring herself, right? We've already seen Tammy Cowins make statements in an affidavit going back to 2012 or whenever those affidavits were written, stating clear facts before she is exposed, when don't nobody know who she is, she's making these statements, right? In affidavits that's used to get the motion for wiretaps. And in these statements, going back 2012, this is when she expressly states that Demetrius Flannery put her in contact, told her to get in contact with Suarez and CUFFY to do a large drug transaction. She says it twice, I think on page 11 and page 12 in that motion to suppress. September 2011 is one, and I think the other one is, what was the other one? Maybe August 2012, something to that effect, okay? Now, everything that Jack Harvey says, most of the things that he's going to say, he's always going to lead it out with, she said. Tammy Cowins said. Tammy Cowins told me this. Tammy Cowins said that. Then Tammy Cowins said this, right? And it's going to go in here that he's out of contact with her for, I think, a couple of years, 2 years, but stay with me. Jack Harvey just said, and then let me pause, right? So she has these statements that she's making when she's not exposed, and then immediately when she gets exposed that she is CS1, that she is the informant, then all of her statements change. She changes her whole story, right? Stay with me. Did she tell you when that personal relationship had begun? Jack Harvey, yes. It was way long ago. Back in, I think it began in 2011. And I think it was over with, according to her, by the beginning of 2003. Now, 2003 is when, I'm gonna pull the video up for you. Hold on. When I did the phone interview with CUFFY, this is when CUFFY, I'm gonna let CUFFY tell you. Everything that we're discussing. You and Meech was down. Y'all go back to 1990. It goes way back on me. We just sitting on the couch at my mom's house. Run through, I want to give you the floor, man. You on my platform, I want to give you the floor. I've read the motion to suppress the wiretaps. You've watched me. I've done the whole thing, and my man's paperwork don't look good, Cuff.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's really simple, Sean. In early 2013.
Right there. Right there. Right there. Right there. The attorney Herman. And did she tell you when this personal relationship had begun? Yes, it was way long ago, back in, I think it began in 2011, and I think it was over with, according to her, by the beginning of 2013.
In early 2013, Meech called me and told me, yo, homie, I got some good people. You know what I mean? Got some good people, got some good numbers. I can't rap right now. Tammy gonna hit you in a minute. An hour later, homie, Tammy called me and put me with the feds. It's really simple, homie.
So then Herman begins to ask Harvey about what information did she give you about the relationship. And Jack Harvey begins to explain how Keith Cromer's son, his name was Nicholas, 12 years old, had died. He had been sick his whole life. He died in September of 2011, which was 2 months after I retired. I went to the funeral. Just that it was a long story of they initially connected over a sad situation where they both had tragedies in their lives and Keith had lost his son. One of the agents in the group, this is Jack Harvey on the stand, I guess by then other agents in the group were familiar with Tammy Cowins. One of them told her about that. She sent him a condolence card. And they already knew one another, but the relationship was not intimate at that time. But shortly thereafter, they would get together. And she said, and Tammy Cowan said, this is Jack Harvey leading out with always with this. He would cry. He would make me cry. She had lost her husband, I think that was in 2007, but they would cry together. And eventually, the relationship became intimate. And she subsequently just felt that he had used sympathy to get to her weak spot. And she began to resent him for it. Then Herman talks about, the relationship was beyond the scope of, it was poor conduct on the behalf of an agent. And he says, well, Herman asked him, well, shouldn't Cromer have reported this relationship to his superiors? Jack Harvey, well, he shouldn't have engaged in it in the first place. Once he did, reporting it would be career suicide. So of course he didn't report it. Herman, and she didn't report it? Jack Harvey, I think the very first time I spoke with her in January or February of 2013, and we just heard CUFFY say this is when MEECH puts Tammy in touch with him in early 2013. When I spoke with her in February 2013, she was dropping hints like she wanted to talk about it, but I was just blind. I didn't see it. And she said something about, I always knew I could trust you. You're different from these other agents. Yo, this fucking bitch. I thought she was just flattering me. And I said, you can trust every agent, as long as there's always two agents. You shouldn't be alone with one agent ever. And that was that. We talked for a long time. But she didn't go into further details. And it was 16 months or 15 months later when she finally opened up about the relationship. So what Tammy Cowins is doing is, to me, it seems that she's testing the waters with Jack Harvey. But she know Jack Harvey straight up and down like 6 o'clock, or has been with her, because that's Luna, y'all. She worked with him in the Terry White case, so she know how he get down. Herman, and you became aware during the period she was having an intimate relationship with Agent Cromer. She also lied to supervisory officers who questioned her about that at Cromer's suggestion, correct? Yeah. I mean, technically, I don't know if they are supervisory. They are inspectors. Herman, inspectors? That's correct. So what Herman is saying, because she lied again. When she went and had her interview, remember we dealt with that in an old video? When she went and met with the OIG, the Office of Inspector General, she went in there, Tammy Cowins went in there, and she said that Keith Cromer told her to say this and told her to say that. Remember when I did that video? You remember when I did that video? Keith Cromer told me to not tell y'all about the relationship. He told me to tell y'all this. So everything from out of Tammy Cowins' mouth is of her own account. So the Herman brings that up. She also lied to supervisory officers, meaning the OIG. Herman. Now, Mr. Holt asked you whether you had had any information in your dealings with Tammy Cowins that would negatively impact her credibility. And you answered that you had not had any such information in your dealing with her when you were an agent. Is that correct? Jack Harvey. Yeah, her credibility was excellent in my case. Remember, her credibility was excellent in the Terry White case because nobody knew who she was. And as we sit here today, is her credibility still excellent? Jack Harvey. Well, you know, she told me about the inspection interview, and there were, a couple of other things that she told me that showed me that she had been deceitful with respect to the sexual relationship one occasion. Tammy Cowins. Let me read that to you again. This is the Franks hearing, dated October 18, 2016, Volume 2. 74-page document. I'm on page 7 of 74. Jack Harvey. Herman. Mr. Holt asked you whether you had had any information in your dealings with Tammy Cowins that would negatively impact her credibility. And you answered her that you had not had any such information in your dealing with her when you were an agent. Is that correct, Jack Harvey? Yeah, her credibility was excellent in my case. Herman, right back on his head. And as we sit here today, is her credibility still excellent? Is Tammy Cowins' credibility still excellent? Jack Harvey. Well, She told me about the inspection interview. And there were, a couple of other things that she told me that showed me that she had been deceitful with respect to the sexual relationship with Keith Cromer on occasion. She had been deceitful. Check this out, man. Oh my God, this girl, Tammy Cowins, man, you are Herman. She had been deceitful. Well, she was surprised by a phone call. This is Jack Harvey. Well, she was surprised by a phone call made to her by Keith Cromer's wife. Agent Cromer's wife called her out the blue. She saw the number. She thought it was Keith. It was not Keith. It was Keith's wife. And Tammy Cowins sort of talked her way out of the situation. Basically, she did a good job as an informant by, saying that, yes, I do speak on the phone with your husband quite a bit, but I also speak with these other agents, and she gave the names of these other agents. And she said, Tammy, this is what Jack Harvey. And she said, this is to me, but she said that she said to the wife, I can't tell you what we talk about, implying that they are talking about drug investigations. And she said, Tammy Cowins, that she thought, Tammy Cowins, that satisfied the wife to some extent, and that was the end of the contact. And I believe that was their only phone call. But I would say that, yes, Tammy Cowins was being deceitful in that sense. That's Jack Harvey. Herman. And Keith Cromer knew that she was being deceitful at various times? Jack Harvey. I don't know. Herman. He instructed her to be deceitful? Jack Harvey. With respect to that inspection interview, he, as I said, he gave her, I would call it a half-hearted attempt at justifying the answer he instructed her to give. Now, he's saying, he's trying to put it on Keith, saying, Keith, listen. But see, Tammy Cowins went into the interview with the OIG, and she said, Tammy Cowins said, Keith Cromer told her to lie to them and say this and say that. With respect to that inspection interview, he, as I said, he gave her, I would call it a half-hearted attempt at justifying the answer he instructed her to give. Herman, when you report in an affidavit that a confidential source is credible, it's part of your duty as an agent to report all information that you know to the court and let the court make the decision as to whether the person is credible. Isn't that correct? Yes. If an informant has a record of low credibility, you probably try to avoid citing the informant's information in an affidavit. If an informant has a record of low credibility, you probably try to avoid citing that informant's information in an affidavit. Now, the first affidavit that was done, remember the one that I thought was done in Georgia, but was really done in St. Louis? But later on in here, we'll find out that something was done in Georgia before that. But listen, you only include an informant's information in an affidavit if you feel that they're credible. Excuse me, Jack Harvey just said that. And I've always been on the tip that that first affidavit where she expressly states that MEECH told her to get in touch with Suarez and CUFFY and to arrange for CUFFY and Suarez to do a deal, that was in the first affidavit, right? When he says that her credibility was at an all-time high because she was coming off of the Terry White case, right? But then after she gets found out, and then she starts faxing all this stuff all over the place and making these 2 other affidavits that she never signs, never submits. They force her to send them in. They force her to send those affidavits in. Mrs. Gravis and Drake, the U.S. attorneys out of St. Louis, when they're trying to get their case together against Cuff, they make her send them in, but they're never sworn to. Right? Remember the one she wrote by hand? I wrote one and then I wrote another one. Tammy Cowins, man. Herman, you would say that being deceitful and lying to government agents, that would impact her credibility and should have been reported to the court. The U.S. attorney objects. The judge sustains the objection. All right, so Herman moves on. In addition to learning about the non-professional relationship between Tammy Cowins and Keith Cromer, did you also learn about questions related to justification of payment, to payments made to Tammy Cowins? Jack Harvey, yes, I did. Herman, tell us what you learned. Well, in my OIG interview, which was in October 2015, they showed me paperwork where an interview of a defendant in another case had been attached to a payment form, and they asked me if that interview had anything to do with Tammy Cowins, and I said no, it did not as far as I know. It was an unusual situation. It was an interview that I had sat in on even though I had been retired, because it was my case at the point I had retired. But I did not write the report. But the author of that report was Agent Swoop. And I don't know, why that was submitted as a justification for a payment to Tammy Cowins, because the person who interviewed and the subjects that the person discussed had no connection to Tammy Cowins. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to stop right here. Well, you know what? Hold on. Let me keep going. So they talk about payments to Tammy Cowins. Now they're starting to talk about these payments to Tammy Cowins. Were they fraudulent or not? That kind of thing. Herman says to Jack Harvey, you said in your direct testimony that the information you received from Tammy Cowins was shocking, I think, and disappointing. Were those the words you used? Jack Harvey, I think I said saddening, but disappointing is a better word. Saddening, disappointing. Can you tell us all of the reasons why you thought, or all of the information that you received from Tammy Cowins that caused you to be shocked and disappointed? Check this out. Keith Cromer. Jack Harvey. Well, I was disappointed in her, Tammy Cowins, but I was more so disappointed in Keith Cromer, just from a moral standpoint and, of course, professionally. I knew this guy for a long time, worked under him, worked alongside him. He was younger than I by a good bit, but he had been my supervisor because he had gone fast track in the DEA. And I hope that it was not true, but I was. Herman interrupts. I'm sorry, was it the sexual relationship that was shocking and disappointing? Jack Harvey, yeah, that of course. Herman, was it the lying that was shocking and disappointing? Jack Harvey, well, that was part of the whole package. I wound up taking notes and talking to her for quite some time, and she gave me reason to believe that Tammy Cowins gave me reason to believe that what she was saying was true, because she just had all kinds of information that she shouldn't have known. So I thought, wow, there was a lot of talk going on. She was telling me stuff about myself, about other agents. Jack Herman, from which disclosure? Jack Harvey. Well, presumably, not definitively, presumably made to her by Keith. They spent a lot of time together and they talked a lot. Oh my God. Yo, this is crazy. Herman, now this relationship you told us started, you believe, sometime shortly after the death of Keith Cromer's son. Is that correct? Jack Harvey. Well, I mean, I'm going by what she told me. Oh my God. Jack Harvey on the stand in 2016. Well, I'm going by what she told me. Herman, that's what I'm asking. What she told you. Jack Harvey. Yes, it was the association began between the time of my retirement and the death of Keith's son. And then it was at some point after the death of Keith's son that the relationship began. All right, so you retired in July 2011. Jack Harvey. Correct. Herman. Mr. Cromer's son died in September of 2011. Jack Harvey. Correct. Herman. And on your direct testimony, you said that it was shortly thereafter she sent the condolence note to Cromer. Yes. Harvey. Yes. Herman. And then thereafter, the sexual relationship began. Do you believe that from what she told you, that it began prior to the close of 2011? I think so. And that sexual relationship and the lying to cover it up continued from late 2011 all the way to 2012. Agent Jack Harvey, I think so. Herman. And it was during that time that Mr. Cromer utilized Tammy COWINS in an affidavit which was filed with the court in August of 2012. You're familiar with that affidavit? He's Jack Harvey. I am now. Yes. So this is the affidavit. Keith Cromer utilized CS1 in an affidavit which was filed with the court. So it seems like Keith Cromer used her in an affidavit, right? Keith Cromer is an Atlanta-based DEA. Tammy COWINS lives in Atlanta. And that's what I'm thinking about this affidavit was in Atlanta. And remember him telling me, Sean, it's our policy in the Northern District of Georgia. We don't do third-party cooperation. Let's stay with me. So now they talk about this thing, which Tammy COWINS got on the stand and testified to, that Keith Cromer gave her a phone number to give to another agent about this dude named Bootsy. Remember I said something about that out in Decatur? Let's go. Herman, would you, in your OIG interview, you talked about a concept I've never heard before, but maybe you can explain it to the court about information laundering. Does that ring a bell with you? Jack Harvey, yes. Herman, can you tell us what you mean by that? Jack Harvey. I actually had not heard of that being done before, but Tammy COWINS told me that on at least one occasion, Keith Cromer gave her a phone number to give to another agent in the group, in the enforcement group, as having originated with her. Herman, and what's the problem with that? Jack Harvey. The problem is that it's not true. That the phone number did not originate with her. It originated with, as far as I knew, it originated with Keith. This is Tammy COWINS destroying Keith Cromer's credibility. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Is Tammy COWINS destroying Keith Cromer's credibility? A man who told me out his mouth on the phone, said, Sean, I've done $80 million, $100 million seizures of cash, all cash. And never in my career prior to this girl has one penny ever been missing. Stay with me. And what's the problem with that? Because that number was destined for an affidavit, and the affidavit would state the number, the phone number came from the informant. And that would not be true, Herman. That was a lie to the court then, Jack Harvey, in that instance. But I don't know that that was actually done. But that would appear to me to be the intent of doing that. Herman, well, you don't know if it was done, but she told you it was done. She told you. Jack Harvey, well, I don't think she knew what went into an affidavit, but she just knew it was something weird where she's being told to feed a phone number back to the DEA that comes to her from the DEA. Why would they do that? Why would the DEA give her a number? Why would Keith Cromer give her a phone number to give to another agent? And I know what y'all thinking, because I thought the same thing. So that they can steal money, right? Because my initial thought was Keith Cromer was doing what he was doing. He was having this illicit sexual relationship with this girl so he can get money out of her, right? And she said, Jack Harvey, well, I don't think she knew what went into an affidavit, but she just knew it was something weird where she's being told to feed a phone number back to the DEA that comes to her from the DEA. And she said, she questioned it. She said, why don't, she said, this is Jack Harvey, everything is she said out of his mouth. Why don't you give them the number yourself? And he said, just do what I tell you to do. And she did. I think she said she emailed the number and the name to, I believe it was Agent Swoop. Herman, and that occurred prior to the August affidavit, August 12th affidavit, didn't it? Herman, all right. If an agent were engaging in information laundering with a confidential source, that would be something that would impact the credibility of that, both the agent, Keith Cromer's credibility, and the confidential source, Tammy Cowins, correct? Jack Harvey. Well, that practice, I don't know how it affects the credibility of a source. It certainly shows devious conduct on the part of the agent. Destroy Keith Cromer's credibility. But innocent, unwitting conduct on the part of the receiving agent. I don't think that agent would have been in on the, he was to be deceived. And then that agent would pass the number to the actual affiant. Fred was not the affiant, Fred Swoop. I'm saying that because I know Fred typically was not a Title III wiretap affiant. That's all of the cross-examination by Herman. And tomorrow I'm going to do Cuffy's lawyer, Joanne Traub. But stay with me. You can already hear where I'm going with this thing. It's pretty telling. Everything that everything that Jack Harvey is on the stand is she said, she said, she said, she said. Right? And remember from the beginning, that that Jack Harvey on the stand says that Tammy Cowins told him that the relationship, the sexual relationship, the alleged sexual relationship started in 2011, and I think it was over with, according to Tammy Cowins, by the beginning of 2013, and this is when Big Meech reaches out to Cuffy and says, I gotta hook you up with my peoples. They got some good numbers. I can't talk on the phone, but she's gonna call you in about an hour.
Told me, yo, homie, got some good people. You know what I mean? Got some good people, got some good numbers. I can't rap right now. Tammy, early 2013, Meech called me and told me, yo, homie, got some good people. You know what I mean? Got some good people, got some good numbers. I can't rap right now. Tammy gonna hit you in a minute. An hour later, homie, Tammy called me and put me with the feds. It's really simple, homie. It's really, really simple, homie. This shit is not complicated, man.
Okay, now, Cuff, when you say, why does it just so happen to coincide? Why is it so perfectly? Why does what she tells Jack Harvey? Why does what she tells Jack Harvey so perfectly coincides with the ending of this sexual relationship, when at the same time Meech is putting her in touch with Keith, putting her in touch with Cuffy in St. Louis? Why does she feel the need to destroy Keith Cromer's credibility? Did Keith Cromer not do something that she wanted him to do because it was against the policy in the Northern District of Georgia to do third-party cooperation? So why are the dates so succinct? Why are they falling apart so together? Just pure speculation. Maybe Cromer wouldn't do something for her that she wanted done because they didn't do that. That policy they didn't do. So I have to destroy his credibility. I have to destroy his credibility. Right? Which, let's read some more. Let me stop right there. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna do Jack Harvey's still on the stand tomorrow, but Cuffy's lawyer is gonna step to him tomorrow. Let's see how that goes. I'm gonna spend like maybe 2 or 3 more days on this with Jack Harvey, and then I'm gonna do I got like 300 pages of Keith Cromer cross-examination on the stand, and after I do Keith Cromer, I think I'm gonna wrap my situation up and give y'all my summation of what I think after I will look at everything. And please be patient with me and understand that I have not read every single document in PACER. There's over like 700 different documents. A lot of them are redacted, a lot of them are sealed. But I think that the research that I've done is excellent. Pat myself on the back. I've done an amazing job, and I think that I've covered enough information and the correct and the proper information to give y'all an overview and to paint a picture for you to see what's going on. Yeah. So that's what it is. Y'all hear my fish tank water? That's my fish tank. Tammy Cowins. Tammy Cowins. Tammy Cowins. And when I was talking to Keith Cromer on the phone, excuse me, I talked to him on 2 separate occasions. He said, Sean, everything is there. And he said, Sean, everything that's in the original affidavit the one that was done in St. Louis that I erroneously thought was done in Atlanta, but which we now learn one was attempted, right? We're gonna learn. One was attempted in Atlanta, Georgia. Everything in that affidavit is true. Everything I said, everything Tammy Cowan said, everything everybody said, and the DEA St. Louis corroborated everything. Everything is true. Then he asked me. He said, then what happens? He asked me, because he's trying to see if I'm on top of my game. But you know, Sean G, you know I'm on top of mine. He said, then what happens? I said, then when CUFFY and them got busted and her name got exposed, she started lying. You know what Keith Cromer said? Exactly. And he said, Sean, I never fucked her. He didn't say that because Keith Cromer is a straight-laced corporate dude. He said, Sean, I never had sex with that girl. Sean G. See y'all tomorrow. Peace.